Three steps to being a husband that your wife actually wants to celebrate. Straight up and down. There's what happens when your wife loves you, and then there's what happens when your wife actually likes you and can't wait to celebrate you and actually wants to see you experiencing joy and fulfillment and being celebrated. There's a responsibility as a husband to actually show up as a husband, as a partner, as a man worth celebrating. Not because of good works, so to speak, or because I'm being productive, but because of these three things. Number one, being unselfish. Number two, being adaptable. And then number three, being honest, vulnerable, and transparent. With being unselfish, that is a characteristic that is commonly associated with manhood in a way where we put our needs on the back burner. We say, all right, as long as my wife is happy, then we good. Happy wife, happy life. By the way, I despise that saying because that's not holistically true. When I say that, I mean in a healthy marriage, both people in the marriage should be at peace, fulfilled. They should both have joy in their hearts as individuals and as a collective. One person's emotional state should not be prioritized over the other because then that leads to resentment build up, that leads to one person being fulfilled and one person constantly lacking fulfillment, and there's a complete misalignment in life experience. It leads to one person always thinking that they have the right to be right at all times, when in reality, that's just not true because as humans, we're all flawed. We are all flawed. We're all just broken clocks walking around. We're only right at least twice a day. At any other point, we're probably half right or just completely wrong and just making stuff up as we go. So, in the element of being unselfish as a husband, that doesn't simply mean you put your needs and wants on the back burner and they're deprioritized under your wife's health and well-being and wants and desires. Both of them, in an equitable relationship, both of them have equal weight, equal consideration, equitable concern and consideration. So being unselfish means I put my pride and ego to the side when it comes to decision making as being a collaborator and a leader in the household. Being unselfish means there will be moments when what I want may not be the best option, or me being right still may not lead to a resolution in conflict. My individual perspective may have gaps, and I need to understand that those gaps can be filled by my wife. I also need to understand that those gaps aren't meant for me to fix all by myself. because I'm still a flawed human being. But I understand my role. But in being unselfish, I know that it's not up to me to do everything and to fix everything. That I need to decentralize myself from everything. I am not the center of everything. That's what being unselfish means in the grand scheme of being married and being just a human in life. The second thing being adaptable. To be a husband worth celebrating, I need to be adaptable. As husbands, we need to be adaptable. And by adaptable, I mean we are willing to step outside of our comfort zone. There's an intriguing stereotype or pattern where, specifically, for example, dads, whenever it comes to Father's Day, they're highly likely to not want anything for Father's Day. They're not highly likely to not want to do anything to celebrate themselves. They just much rather be in their comfort zone of, I'll just be over here in my man cave, or I'll just be over here. I don't need to celebrate me. Just leave me be. I just want to rest. There's a time and place for rest. Yet and still, there is a time and place for concerted, deliberate celebration for big and small occasions. And so often, with the stoic man stereotype, there's nothing to celebrate. There's only just the next thing, the next accomplishment, the next goal. I got to do something for someone else and make sure that they're good. And only if they're good, then I'm good. But that is a slippery slope and a very unhealthy long-term outlook. Because if, as a man, I'm constantly tethering my emotional well-being to that of others, where does that leave for my own sense of self, my own self-esteem, my own self-concept of my own health and well-being and sustainable patterns and behaviors that I can reinforce, that I can gather support for, where I'm making sure that I'm fulfilled so that I can pour into other people. I can't pour from an empty cup, because if I try, then I'm harming myself as much as I'm not showing up as effectively for others in the way that I think I am, or in the way that other people deserve. So, for example, if I am downplaying my health and wellness, then that means when my wife needs me the most, if I'm not in a state where I can support her as effectively as possible, then it's a lose-lose for everybody. I'm down and out. I'm trying to operate on an empty tank, and then my wife still needs my support. So then we're both overextended. We're both unsupported, and nobody wins. So adapting and changing out of that habit of thinking, I don't need to be celebrated, or it could just be something small. I'm not really pressed. And this extends beyond just whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, or you like attention being on you. Those are oftentimes people use the terms introvert and extrovert incorrectly anyway. So outside of those labels of you not wanting to be the center of attention, it's not about you being the center of attention. It's about others wanting to pour into you. It's about other people wanting to fill your cup. It's about other people wanting to acknowledge and show their appreciation and show that they are grateful for your existence. Just for your existence, not because you did anything special, not because you won X amount of championships, not because you make X amount of money. It's just simply because you are someone that is important to someone else's life, and they want to show you that same gratitude. They want to show, they want to give you your flowers while you're still alive. So adapting to change means adapting the way you constantly think about yourself, the way you think about images of manhood, the way you think about celebrations, the way you think about celebrating yourself, and the way you receive appreciation, the way you receive gratitude from other people. Because oftentimes, if you don't understand how to show gratitude, if you don't know how to show self-compassion and then thank yourself and just be grateful as an individual, it can be difficult to receive gratitude, because oftentimes men don't be receiving compliments. And it's a very intriguing thing, but men oftentimes don't know how to receive gratitude or appreciation because it may be just a foreign concept to them, or maybe they just feel uncomfortable being noticed or being the center of attention, or being the object of someone's appreciation. It's like that for a lot of men out here, and it's baffling. It's unfortunate. But for me to be a husband that my wife wants to celebrate, I gotta be unselfish. I gotta be adaptable. And on the adaptable front, when my wife brings me an idea that may be out of my comfort zone, it's up to me to receive it and say, you know what? I've never done that before. I never thought about doing that for my own self. But I'm willing to change. I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to exit my comfort zone and do something new. Because why not? Especially if I have a wife who loves me and wants to pour into me and try new experiences and broaden our horizons together. Who am I to resist that? All because of my own pride, ego, and selfishness. If I just want to do what I want to do and I just want to retain control of everything, well, if you've been controlling everything up to this point and you haven't celebrated a birthday in 15 years, then I think it might be time to relinquish some control. Because apparently you haven't flexed your party planning muscles in a very long time. And you don't plan on doing it. So it takes some help to break out of that comfort zone. But it's up to me to willingly adapt to that. Now, the third step to being a husband that your wife actually wants to celebrate is being honest, vulnerable, and transparent. Now, this has implications beyond just the celebrations. This means that in other areas of life, in other situations, especially when navigating conflict with your wife, as a husband, being honest, vulnerable, and transparent means a stronger bond. It means you displaying yourself as a trustworthy partner. It means you are willing to communicate when things are going well and when things aren't going well. and you're doing it from a place of integrity where you're not saying one thing and then doing something else, where you're not thinking one thing but saying something else. That what the integrity comes from all of your being well integrated, and you're being present and you're being intentional about how you show up, where your thoughts, your words, and your actions are all aligned with your mind, body, and spirit. But physiologically, you are at peace and you can stand 10 toes down on what you say and what you do. So, being honest, vulnerable, and transparent, that influences adaptability and unselfishness. And especially when you're communicating about, you brought this idea to me. Honestly, vulnerably, and transparently, you said you wanted to take me out on a vacation for my birthday. This isn't something that I've typically done. Honestly, vulnerably, and transparently, I don't think I would have done this on my own. I am super grateful that you want to do this. I'm going to put aside my own patterns that keep me safe in my comfort zone. I'm also going to put aside the need to control and my selfish desire to want to just hold on to things that I've been holding on to unnecessarily for the past umpteen years. And I'm going to allow this new experience into my life. I'm going to be grateful for it. And I'm going to hold space for myself. I'm going to be self-compassionate. I'm going to grieve the idea of control that I thought I used to have and that I thought was so important. And then I'm going to relinquish that. And I'm going to say, this no longer serves me, because what good is me not appreciating when others want to pour into me? What good is it when I resist people wanting to pour into my cup? That literally doesn't make sense. And it's selfish as well, because you're robbing people of the opportunity to show their gratitude for you being a lovable and likable human being, because they wouldn't want to celebrate you if they didn't like you. So you resisting people want to celebrate you. You do that enough times, and then people are like, okay, this is annoying. This is silly. The fact that we're trying to pour into you, you won't let us? All right, cool. So then 30 years later, after you've gone through all these attempts of trying to push people away, and then what happens when you're successful in pushing people away? Then you'll look up, all your friends and family will be at an arm's length, which is where you've pushed them out to. And then you're left wondering, I don't really like being lonely. This kind of sucks. I actually do kind of want to be celebrated. Man, there's actually probably some trauma or unresolved conflict from childhood or from teenagehood or even early adulthood that I actually never reconciled there's actually some things that, like, there are reasons why I was so resistant. There's reasons why I was pushing people away. There's reasons why I didn't want to celebrate myself. Man. So I'm making this video to help at least one person avoid that regret 30 years from now. Because that's what is likely to happen. Unfortunately, it is likely to happen. And it is happening to a lot of people right now as we speak. It's tough. It is a tough reality. But unless we actually talk about it and address it head on, it's just going to keep going for as long as humanity exists. And some of it is cultural. Some of it does come with specific approaches specifically to manhood. But that doesn't mean that is correct. That doesn't mean that it's the only way to exist. And I've actually caught myself on a couple occasions where my wife asked me if I wanted to celebrate, and I said, no, not really. And then I'll have to actively say, wait, no. I'm going to give you a gift idea that I actually would like and that I would actually enjoy. It is something that I would have gotten with my own money, but I just have not gotten it yet because I keep putting it off. But no, if you were to get me this thing, I would really appreciate it. And I thank you for wanting to get me a gift. And I know that when we become parents, I'm going to actively create opportunities for celebrating myself on Father's Day. And in perpetuity, for my birthdays, I'm actually going to have ideas to celebrate myself. I'm not going to be one of those dads and just adult males who constantly just says, I don't want to do anything. Because also, low-key, that answer just comes from a little bit of laziness, of just not wanting to think about something that's out of the box. If we're going to be real frank, we're going to be real. It literally is laziness on some accords, where we're not getting creative enough with our short-term and long-term planning. Just straight up and down. Just not being detail-oriented enough to say, I actually want to do X, Y, and Z to celebrate my birthday this year. Sometimes it's just laziness. And sometimes it takes a quick kick to the shin, metaphorically. I don't need to include violence, but metaphorically, where it's just something to wake you up. And be like, you know what? Maybe I do need to think harder about this. Maybe I do just need to genuinely watch some YouTube videos for inspiration, or watch some Instagram reels or TikTok videos for inspiration. Because a lot of times that laziness also stems from a lack of exposure and a lack of imaginative or opportunities for imaginative thinking, because we're so locked into routine and things that just don't matter in the grand scheme of things. We're locked in on distractions more so than actually wading through issues, conflict, trauma, responsibilities, and doing things for other people, and yet resisting appreciation from others for us. And with those 3 steps, those 3 considerations, those will help with you being a husband that your wife can't wait to celebrate. and you're unselfish, you're adaptable, and you're honest, vulnerable, and transparent, you will be a great husband to your wife. If you're a wife, send this to your husband. If you're a husband, please take heed to this and apply it to your own context. Because these are three core principles that have extremely broad implications, even beyond just your romantic relationship. But it literally helps you exist as a more holistic individual versus adhering to rigid stereotypes of what it means to be a man. There's a comprehensive nature that goes along with this. Because if you flip it, the opposite of each of those three steps, selfishness, rigidity, and being untrustworthy, essentially, honest, vulnerable, transparent, being untrustworthy, that is a recipe for being a husband that will contribute to the demise of your relationship. It will contribute to the demise of your marriage. It will lead to an unhealthy, difficult, unsustainable marriage, one that is void of joy, and one that is highly likely to either lead to apathy from your wife or lead to divorce. So, take heed to these three steps because it ain't just about you celebrating your birthday. And I want to say thank you to my wife for helping me celebrate my 30th birthday by planning an amazing trip to Jamaica. I love my wife to pieces, to the moon and back. She's amazing. Amazing. And this video is a response to her video. So, to all husbands out there, your marriage journey is just that. It is a journey. Marriage is not a destination. Rather, after you say I do, you begin a whole new journey. Everything that you did to get your wife's attention in the dating stage, in the courtship stage, everything that you did to get her attention, everything you did to get her to like you or to at least give you the time of day, oh, that was just the prologue. That was just the movie previews. The movie ain't even started yet. When you actually say I do, and you actually get married, oh yeah, okay, now the journey. You have a new starting line. You have a new starting line. And so with that, when you are unselfish, when you are adaptable, and when you are honest, vulnerable, and transparent with your wife, it is unlimited where y'all can go and what y'all can do as a unit. Y'all will be unstoppable when y'all are both espousing those characteristics. And don't let you have God in your corner. Don't let y'all both be in y'all word. Don't let y'all be out here Don't let y'all be out here being salt. Is that Matthew 5:13? Fact check me on that. So, thanks for watching, and I wish you well on your marriage journey.